Sometimes too much hype can be the death knell of an anticipated TV show. These programs only made it 1 or 2 seasons each before everything fell apart. The granddaddy of all 21st century TV shows cut short in their prime. Firefly debuted on Fox in the fall of 2002. The project was Joss Whedon's big TV follow-up to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, meaning that all eyes were on the sci-fi western. While Whedon's signature style of quippy dialogue endured, the setting was now the farthest reaches of outer space. The cosmic TV shows that aren't Star Trek can be a tough sell to the general public. Even the now beloved and unkillable Futurama struggled to build an audience during its initial Fox run in the early 2000s. Thus, Firefly had a tough road ahead of it despite debuting with Whedon's post-Buffy clout in full effect.
We are just too pretty for God to let us die.
Huh? Look at that chiseled jaw. Huh? Come on.
Hindering Firefly's chances at rating success was Fox's bizarre approach in promoting the show, including tonally misleading advertisements and airing episodes out of order. Key character arcs and storylines were rendered incoherent to the network's shenanigans. While Buffy and Angel ran for multiple seasons, Firefly was dead in the water just months after the premiere. Positive reviews weren't enough to keep the show afloat, though strong DVD sales allowed the property to return and tie up some loose ends through the film Serenity. Such an outcome was far from shiny, as Firefly's characters would put it. While Batman and Superman have been everywhere in 21st century media, fellow DC Comics legend Swamp Thing hasn't been as lucky. After being the subject of 2 live-action movies and a TV show in the 80s and 90s, he was MIA once Y2K came and went. 2019's DC Universe Swamp Thing now sought to correct that by giving the character a lavish, horror-soaked TV program. The endeavor's high production value inspired lofty pre-release expectations, and unlike its fellow DC Universe program Titans, which received divisive marks from fans, Swamp Thing was indeed widely praised. That reputation has only been heightened thanks to how poorly Swamp Thing was treated by Warner Media. Less than a week after Swamp Thing's first episode aired, the show was cancelled.
Be careful coming back. There's danger here.
Swamp Thing's bizarre fate was attributed to issues related to the show's budget, tax rebates, and shifting priorities for the DC Universe platform. Swamp Thing leading man Derek Mears expressed his anguish over the cancellation, especially since the people involved in the program were initially not informed why it ended so soon. Despite this unjust cancellation, the show's loyal cult following, much like the transformed scientist Alec Holland, refuses to die. Before Terra Nova premiered, much of the hype surrounding the Fox series involved its tremendous costs. This high-concept production about humans from the distant future getting transported to the prehistoric era to start a new life had a massive budget from the get-go. Still, Fox had immense confidence in the show, especially since it was executive produced by Steven Spielberg and featured Stephen Lang, who was riding high from Avatar as one of its main characters.
Well, the next time I track you down, the last thing you're gonna see alive will be my face.
The network initially planned to debut Terra Nova with a May 2011 sneak preview before launching the rest of the show the following fall, a release strategy mimicking Glee's initial debut. Those ambitions never worked out. Terra Nova instead premiered in the final days of September 2011, and its ratings never took off due to its staggering costs. Fox canned the show after a single season after pouring so many resources into it, despite reception to the show gradually improving as it went on. If Terra Nova had been given a little more breathing room, perhaps it could have secured a cultural legacy greater than its price tag. Modern entertainment is full of continuations of 1980s pop culture, but the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance actually managed to improve on its predecessor. The stuffy, sometimes lethargic world of Jim Henson's Dark Crystal was deepened and expanded upon by Age of Resistance's propulsive creative sensibilities. Director Louis Leterrier committed his efforts to realizing the Gelflings and assorted fantasy puppets as real people with complex problems. The 10-hour labor of love launched on Netflix in August 2019 and ended on a cliffhanger teasing further adventures set between the show's Season 1 and the original Dark Crystal movie. Despite Netflix spending $97.7 million on the project, not to mention all the hype surrounding a new piece of Dark Crystal media, another season never materialized. While Netflix typically gives its shows 3 seasons or so before unceremoniously canceling them, Age of Resistance only got the 1. Given Age of Resistance's immense artistry and all of the exciting storytelling possibilities in potential further seasons, it's a shame that Netflix didn't give this show more support. A little over a decade into the 21st century, Bad Robot Television had developed a tremendous reputation for producing hip, mind-bending genre shows like Alias, Lost, and Fringe. In early 2012, the studio's next hopeful hit, Alcatraz, started airing on Fox. The show's premise was a unique one, as hundreds of prisoners and guards who vanished from the island prison in 1963 began to suddenly pop back up in the modern world. It was a weighty concept, and the program had some major star power in its cast. Not only was Lost favorite Jorge Garcia among the leads, but beloved film actors Sam Neill and Robert Forster were also series regulars, lending some gravitas to all the silly mayhem. Alcatraz had its detractors, but its fans appreciated its breezy mixture of standalone weekly thrills and hints at a larger, compelling mythos. Other Bad Robot projects like Fringe and Lost transformed into entirely different shows after multiple seasons, but Alcatraz never got the chance to evolve or build on its cult fanbase. After just 13 episodes, the show was cut short. Unlike other one-season sci-fi series, there were never any whispers of Alcatraz getting picked up by another network. The gates had closed on the promising endeavor, and there was no way for it to escape its prison cell of cancellation. By the late 2000s, everybody wanted in on the Lost action. ABC's enigmatic hit show may have divided some viewers with its final seasons, but it generated the kind of buzz and viewership that most studio executives can only dream of. Naturally, ABC tried launching another serialized mystery sci-fi show, Flash Forward, in 2009. The hook of this program, which was adapted from the 1999 Robert J. Sawyer novel of the same name, was that it took place in a world where everyone blacked out for 2 minutes and 17 seconds in October 2009. During their unconsciousness, people witnessed visions of what was to come 6 months in the future, making for plenty of drama as characters tried to unpack what on earth happened, and whether or not to expect more blackouts. As Flash Forward's September 2009 premiere drew closer and closer, outlets like The Guardian and the Los Angeles Times recognized the massive hype ABC had generated around the show. The network really wanted this high-concept outing to take off as a Lost replacement, since that show was ending in May 2010. However, while the new series had its devoted lore-obsessed followers, increasingly poor ratings for Season 1's final episodes made it clear that Flash Forward would have no future. Before The Boys turned Amazon Prime Video into a must-have subscription for superhero fans, Amazon Studios ventured into the genre with their live-action adaptation of The Tick. Scheduled to debut in August 2017, the show was highly anticipated by fans of the Tick comics and animated series. The show, which followed the wacky hero The Tick and his everyman sidekick Arthur, was preceded by a massive promotional campaign, including a huge takeover of 2017's San Diego Comic-Con. Excitement for the show was only eclipsed by its high costs, which reportedly reached as much as $5 million an episode. Amazon was starting to spend Game of Thrones money on The Tick, and that meant all eyes were on how the show would perform in the long run. After just 2 seasons, though, The Tick was squashed. Amazon cancelled the show, and ambitions to have the program continue on another platform ended up going nowhere. Given the show's depth, as well as how many adventures the title superhero has experienced in other mediums, The Tick getting cut so short is still a sore spot for many.
Destiny speaks. She speaks to me.
She says hi, by the way.
Years before he started anchoring The Boys, Carl Urban headlined another sci-fi TV show in the form of Almost Human. This Fox program depicted a world where human police officers work with RoboCops to save a society overrun with crime. Urban plays a flesh-and-blood lawman who must learn to work alongside an automaton portrayed by Michael Ealy. Since Bad Robot Productions was responsible for the creation of the splashy endeavor, the expectation was that Almost Human would secure passionate support from sci-fi geeks and general audiences alike. However, the show lasted only 13 episodes and was confirmed dead by April 2014. For Almost Human fans, this development was devastating. The near-future take on a cop show was able to secure its share of loyal followers who viewed the show's mythology as just getting warmed up before the first season ended. With more seasons, Almost Human could have really stretched its wings and taken on whole new levels of depth. Instead, it was just one of many one-and-done sci-fi shows to air on Fox, and Urban would have to wait for The Boys to anchor a show with any longevity. Even in an age where Meryl Streep stars in multiple seasons of a Hulu comedy show, the prospect of Kirsten Dunst anchoring a program like On Becoming a God in Central Florida is still a massive deal. The show cast Dunst as a down-on-her-luck Orlando resident who decides to take a shortcut to financial success by taking part in a skeevy pyramid scheme operation. As fun as the concept was, the show experienced a rocky road on its way to the airwaves. Though it was touch and go for a while with regard to where the show would wind up premiering, On Becoming a God in Central Florida Florida finally debuted on Showtime in August 2019. Shortly afterward, it scored a second season renewal. All seemed sunny for the show until, like so many other productions, On Becoming a God in Central Florida was capsized by the COVID-19 pandemic. In the fall of 2020, Showtime confirmed that it would no longer pursue a second season thanks to complications arising from the global health crisis. Not even Dunt's star power and overwhelmingly positive reviews could help Central Florida stick around for multiple seasons.